from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome here to Wake Up Call, Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. I hope everybody's having themselves a great morning. We got a bunch of snow in central New York yesterday night, so hopefully you're being safe and hopefully you're taking care of yourself out there with the weather that's going on right now in central and upstate New York. One of the things that's going on in central and upstate New York that's absolutely tremendously amazing is the success of the Syracuse football team. They are 9-3. They await their bowl bid, and they are more than excited for the opportunity that's going to be coming up next. A team that has not won 9 or more games since back in 2001 under Paul Pasqualoni, when the team went 10-3 and won their bowl game. So ecstatic to have the opportunity to see what Syracuse is going to do in this bowl season, and ecstatic for the seniors that have fought so hard to get to the place that they are today, which is to have that bowl bid. The guys like Cody Conway and Eric Dungy and Dante Strickland and Antoine Cordy and so on and so forth. So it is a great honor for this team to be where they are today, and I am more than proud to tell you that 5 different Syracuse players in the history of Syracuse football will be joining me on the show today. I promised you that all week long we'd have Syracuse football coverage, and I keep my promises. So we're starting off the show with Ian McIntosh, and then we'll be going to Michael Owens, Dana Cottrell, Jay Bromley, and Rob Carpenter will all be joining the broadcast today. So let's not spend any more time waiting on the man. Ian McIntosh is here on the live line, and we're happy to have him. Ian, how are we doing today?
Dan, I'm doing well, man. I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. And Ian, I got to ask you, I mean, you had success, obviously, while you're at Syracuse. You and your brother did some great things for the team and were surrounded by some great teammates. What can you say about where Syracuse is at right now? It's been a very, very long time. When you were playing, Syracuse was supposed to be good, and nowadays Syracuse is trying to be good again. So what have you seen from this team and what they've been doing right now to try and get back to those moments where the team is supposed to win and not be an underdog?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in all the games that I've seen, the guys are competitive. I was actually up at the Florida State game, and you can see like the development in our players, just how they look physically. You know, you talk about passing the eyeball test, right? Our guys look the part. Now, you go there and you see how they're developed. I mean, you just know that they are strong, powerful, and fast. So that was the first indication I saw at the Florida State game. Wow, these guys look better than the Florida State guys, right? That's number one. Number two, you know, they've been dominating at the line of scrimmage. You see them just finishing plays, going and playing past the whistle. They're playing fast. They're playing hard. They're winning games, and Syracuse football is relevant again. They're part of the conversation. You see on game day, right? Syracuse highlighted, and the commentators are excited to be talking about Syracuse again. So, you know, it's nice to be relevant in college football again. I'll tell you what, man, huge smile.
And for you as a former player, like you said, it's nice to be relevant again. How have you handled the last decade plus? Because Syracuse has been that team that teams expect to defeat. You know, they haven't been talked about a lot out there. They've been ridiculed and put down. And, you know, how have you responded to that? Because you've had to live through this decade plus of seeing a team that, you know, a lot of people wanted to not say the nicest things about.
Yeah, you know, I just had to take my punches, man, and just deal with it. And I had to kind of live in the past, right, and kind of hope for the future. And then I know that when we hired Dino, and then when we hired John, our AD, man, those two guys together are magic, man. They have got great personalities. People naturally gravitate towards these guys, and they're winners. You know, so when I met Dino, and then I met the AD, and he hosts us over at his house for dinner. You can just feel the passion and just the sincere interest in getting this place headed in the right direction. So, I mean, literally right there at that Florida State weekend, I knew there was something special going on in the program. The kids believe in each other, which is most important. They have faith in each other, which is most important. And now they have confidence that they can win and they can play with anybody, right? They've beaten Clemson, they beat Virginia Tech, right? And all these games that they lost, they're in them and they're just barely losing by a couple inches. So these guys have confidence now. They've come around, and I'm happy as a clam. But I will tell you those couple years being in the basement, they were tough. You just kind of had to power through and just, I watched the games, from beginning to the end. I am an Orangeman through and through, but I certainly am a proud Orangeman today.
And speaking here with Ian McIntosh, former Syracuse player. Ian, you had the opportunity to, be on both sides of the ball when you were at Syracuse. What can you say about, being a wide receiver, being a defensive back, having the opportunity to be used on both ends? Because that's happened to a lot of players. A lot of guys have tried different things, or if they end up being a DB, they're used as a special teams returner for kick or punt returns. What did you like about that? What can you say about the opportunity to be on both sides and the school kind of figuring out where you were going to be best?
So for me, I came in as a wide receiver, and we had a talented bunch of wide receivers, and I was fortunate enough to play as a freshman. You had Kevin Johnson, Jim Turner, Quentin Botwood, Jeff Lowe, Pat Woodcock. They were all there, and we were all competitive and competing for time. And while it was great catching passes, from Don McNabb and, Conrad, and playing on the same side of the ball as my brother, for me, I looked at the defense, and I looked at the defensive backs, and I saw how they kind of were playing with a little bit more moxie and a little bit more swagger and kind of, walking the walk and having a little bit more fun on the defensive side of the ball. So for me, seeing kind of the receivers, how many we had, and I was still getting plenty of playing time, I opted to go over to defense because that's just kind of where, I had my passion. My passion was on defense.
And when you had your time at Syracuse, to go back to that and just see what, you were able to accomplish, what the team was able to do, is there any parallel? Can you see anything when you watch the team this year? I know you said that it's a group of guys that really truly care about each other. Do you have any parallels between when the time you played and then what you have been seeing on film and seeing when you came up for the Florida State game?
Yeah, what I see more than anything is that the guys are together as one unit, right? Through good and bad, wins and losses, these guys are a team. One thing that they haven't done, and one thing we didn't do, is they weren't pointing the finger, right? They're not pointing the finger at the offense for not putting up enough points. They're not pointing the finger at the defense for not stopping the opponent. So that's one thing that I noticed. I haven't read, I haven't seen. You haven't seen guys on the sideline squabble, pointing fingers, yelling at each other. So there's this camaraderie, in this togetherness that I see, that these guys truly love each other, care for each other, and want to win for each other, right? And so we had that same type of mentality when I played.
And when you see this, for each other, be by each other, care for each other, do what you can for each other, Eric Dungey has been somebody who, I've been saying over and over, he has the dog mentality. He wants to play, he wants to win, he wants to be there for his guys, he wants to have it, he needs to have it. He came back and played in that Boston College game after having back spasms and being in the hospital. First and foremost, what do you think of Eric Dungey as a player? And then secondly, would you put Eric Dungey in the NFL?
So Eric Dungey he's a champion. He is a warrior. The guy is a leader on his back this year, and played with determination and focus, and he's gotten his ass kicked, man, over the last 3 years. Hasn't had any winning season. He hasn't been to one bowl game. I went to 4 bowl games in 4 years. Eric hasn't been to one. So he is, man, as happy as a clam to be finishing out his career, making Syracuse University relevant again, putting it back on the map. Eric Dungey is the leader of that team, and the rest of the seniors. But look at the way that the quarterback is playing. Because if the quarterback doesn't play well, he'll win any game. Okay, so Eric's level of play this year has been unbelievable. Extremely proud of him. very, very proud of him. From Orangeman to Orangeman, extremely proud of him. Man, couldn't be any more proud of him. And so what was your second question?
Is he an NFL? Would you draft him into the NFL?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, definitely. The guy, listen here, he's a big kid. He's a physical kid. He's got a great arm. He's smart as the whip. And guy makes plays.
Fair enough on that. Coach Babers, before we finish up here with Ian McIntosh, Syracuse, wide receiver and DB alum, what can you say about Dino Babers and what he's been and what he's done, what he's accomplished for this team? He's in his third season, and they have more wins now this season than they had in the first two combined. 4-8, 4-8, now 9-3. What do you think about Dino? Because I know you had the opportunity to come up here and be around the program, like you said earlier this year.
Yeah, no, he's the man. He is the man. He's charismatic. He's enthusiastic. The players are like, look at him like a father. You know what I mean? And he leads this program. They gravitate towards him. They believe in him and what he says. And he's committed to these guys, man. He laid out a vision when he first, stepped up to the plate and took over the program. And he basically said it's going to take 3 years to get this thing going. And sure enough, 3 years, and we're going. So hopefully we can continue, where we are and build upon this and continue to get better. And I'll tell you the best thing about the bowl game is Coach Babers and his staff, they have 15 extra practices. So they have an additional spring practice, if you will, right now to get prepared for the bowl game. So that's going to allow them to further develop their players, so young players, right, into something special. Go play a bowl game, win a bowl game, have a great time on the road, right? Then they'll come back to work out through winter workout, and then they'll have another spring ball session where they can get further development. So now this spring ball goes from 15 practices technically now to 30 practices, right? And so the chance to kind of to further, develop these players and build upon what they did this year, man, it's a great opportunity for the program.
That coming from Ian McIntosh, and we don't know where Syracuse is going to be playing yet. I think that they deserve to be down in warm weather and down in Florida. I have them being in the Camping World Bowl at Camping World Stadium against West Virginia on December 28th. Some predictions have that, some predictions don't. What do you think? I think Syracuse fans deserve to be in the South.
Yeah, but without question, get them out of the cold. We're up in the cold. We won 9 games, right? We're second in our division. We deserve to go to a warm weather bowl game. I'll tell you what, if we do play West Virginia, watch out, that score. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I just hope it doesn't get to the 60s and the 70s and turn out to be like a basketball game. You know how the Big 12 plays football.
Yeah, yeah. So it would definitely be an interesting one, but I think that we deserve to be in warm weather, and I deserve to be in Disney during that week. So
without question.
That coming from Ian McIntosh, Syracuse Orange alum. Ian, as always, love having you on the show, and I hope you had a great holiday, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Awesome, Dan. Appreciate it. Go Orange.